Hello and welcome back to DriveDriverDriven. I'm Humble, and today we're going to do a little bit of cleaning in the garage. I just got word that my kit is ready to ship, and we're working out shipping details, but if all goes according to plan, it sounds like we're going to air freight the box here, and I think it's actually going to be cheaper than shipping by boat, which is a weird turn of events. There's a little bit more to that, and I'll have more for you once I go through that process, but any day now that box should land. So with that in mind, I really needed to get the garage prepped for the new kit and all the new parts to arrive. And quick little time lapse you saw was just that, going through and cleaning everything up. So let me go through sort of my thought process here. I'm not sure whether or not I'm going to keep any other car in the garage while I just do the build thrash. So I've got the Zero in here as a placeholder if I just want the chassis here and then all of the spare and build parts on this side. Worst comes to worst, I'll kick the Zero out of the garage. And I'll keep the Ultima parked in the garage in its usual spot, which gives me about 1 and change car width or car spaces to work with. I might still move some parts around, but this is kind of the space I'm working with. I tried to get all of the new MK parts central in the garage, so I have the rims here, tires are on the way. The rear diff still needs to be built, so I wanted that accessible. The trans is done, so that's okay being tucked back there. And then on this shelf, I kicked out every other part and just left MK parts on here. So shifter and some transmission parts, the rear hubs and uprights are in the box below it. Our fuel safe tank, of course, some other clutch and wiring components and suspension bushings are on this side, and then of course the hubs and brakes that we built last episode for the MK are here on top. Kind of elsewise in the garage, it's still a mess. Toolbox, of course, is still a mess. I did get some new organizers, which are not in that drawer. I decided to try these things out. These Toolbox Widgets, just to try and better organize my wrench drawer a little bit. I've only just done this. For one, I think it is neater and the space is better organized. So we'll see how well they do. They're okay for these bigger wrenches, but when you get into this small stuff, it just feels a bit like a hot dog in a hallway. Doesn't really hold it still, and I don't know, it doesn't work out as well as I had hoped, but for the rest of this, it's great. We have our Imperial on this side, metric on this side, and the one thing I do like about this layout is I was able to get my ratcheting wrenches in with the normal wrenches. So now it's just one drawer for all the box end wrenches, which I kind of like. And since I did that, I was able to free up a drawer over here. So I put my AN tools, my pressure check fittings, etc. over on this side. The same little holders work okay for like this aluminum stuff. It at least holds it upright. As you can see, the biggest wrench was a little too big, but like the adjustable wrenches and the rest of the AN sizes, yeah, it works pretty well. So I gave the same treatment to sort of extensions here, and then I tried to make it work for the ratchets. It's still kind of a mess and didn't really work out like I had hoped for like these stubby wrenches, which honestly is what I use the most. So I may revisit this with another method, but for now it did give me some space back. I did try to use their, I guess, what would you call this, like plier and cutters, sort of organizers also. The biggest problem I found is if you have pliers like this that are sprung, when you put them upright, the handle just sticks up and it's in the drawer in the way. So it doesn't really work for any of this stuff with a sprung handle. And then for stuff like this, cutters, well, they're too big for the channels to fit in and doesn't work for them either. Ditto for like vice grips and adjustable clamps, etc., panel clamps, and circlip pliers. So the rest of this works well enough. I just wish I had a kind of a better, cleaner solution. It's not much better now than it was before I put the organizer in, so I'm still searching for a better way to do this. Lastly, did the same treatment for the screwdrivers. Honestly, this actually worked out better than I thought it would. Same thing, they're kind of loosey-goosey. They have these spacers you can put in to make room for the handles, which I tried to use sparingly so that I could keep my nut drivers on one side, bit drivers up in the corner, and then everything else down here in the middle. So Phillips, standard, bit drivers, and then kind of weird size stuff from like little micro screwdrivers, jewelry screwdrivers to the really big stuff. So I would say it worked out okay for this drawer. The workbench is a mess. It's a slightly better mess, but again, we're transitioning projects. I moved the receiver down to the bench top from where it was up on the shelf because it was starting to have issues due to heat. Now, that's not really a problem going into the winter months, but I'm kind of okay with it sitting here and propping up the iPad. It makes it easier to reach, and it's kind of filling in some dead space that the battery charger was creating anyhow, so I don't mind it too much. And I have kind of a dedicated workspace here, and I'm trying to get a better organizational setup for batteries and chargers and stuff to A, keep it handy, B, keep things charged. But again, this is still a work in progress and also a complete disaster. I can't remember if I've mentioned on channel or not, but I did want to go and get the stock wheels redone. I'm kind of over boring. I think you should make bold choices. Love or hate it, not a kind of meh, I don't want to react to it. With that in mind, I wanted to get the stock wheels redone, and I chose this sort of Kermit green, Viper green, whatever you want to call it. The actual name of this color is Traffic Green. So I have a Traffic Green, I have a Traffic Yellow, and then the existing wheels on the GT3 are now Traffic Red. So got to get them all. I really like the way these came out. Again, Spray Technologies did a killer job. The wheels just really pop, and I'll be slapping a set of tires on these to serve as my track wheels. Right now, they're just going to live in the boxes. Things are going to be kind of rolled away for the winter time, but yeah, look forward to seeing this a little bit more. I have some like quick and easy, but very large visual changes in mind for the GT3. And these wheels are sort of part of that. So keep that in the back of your mind. That'll be coming soon enough. Some of the rest of this stuff is just more future projects piling up that I need to get to. Winter wheels for the Civic, race wheels for the Ultima. This is actually for the Porsche, and these are for the Porsche. And these have to do with the GT2/YSAC style ducts that go under the hood. And this is part of the interior changes that didn't quite make it before Rennsport, but those will be going on soon enough. I just finished up a big road trip with the GT3. It needs a detail, and so those can go in after I get the car detailed. Returning back to this corner, it's the leaning tower of big brake kits. So we have our track brakes for the GT3. I don't really have a better place to put them, and they are super heavy, so the lower the better for those. And then behind it is actually a big brake kit for the Ultima, which can now go on because I was waiting for this box here, which contains the brackets necessary to install the e-brake calipers for the rear hubs. I was hoping to get this done before the new kit arrived, and it may be a winter season upgrade project on the Ultima, of which I have a couple that we want to go through and do. So speaking of the Ultima, I know I've gotten a lot of questions about why don't we see Ultima content or show us driving it, etc., etc. And I know a lot of you watch this channel specifically for that car, and I do love the Ultima. However, some of my design choices, let's say for the rebuild, have come back to bite me. Specifically, the choice to go with electric AC. At the time, I thought that was going to be a great way to simplify the engine bay and get a more efficient kind of AC system in, which reduces plumbing, gets everything closer together in the front of the car, moves a little bit of the weight forward. But the result is that the compressor itself is not strong enough. It's a 24 or 12 volt compressor, and it's mainly meant to run on 24 volt. And if you run it on 12 volt, it only runs at like medium speed, which is really not enough to keep up and help reduce the interior temps of the cabin. And it's still drawing close to like 70 or 80 amps at full tilt, which is where it has to sit anyway in order to keep the cabin cold. And unfortunately, just when cruising around, that's too much ask for the alternator. Even though it's a big beefy alternator, between the AC pump, the electric power steering, the radiator fans, the engine ignition, all that stuff adds up. And I'm just getting into the battery more than I'm charging it. And so the last big trip that I took out, about 150, 200 miles, the car died literally right on my street, and I had to push it into the driveway, and that's just, the battery went flat. This winter, I want to correct that, put an engine-driven AC pump back into it and pull the electric unit out. And that should hopefully give us enough headroom that the alternator is good, the compressor is good, and we have a nice usable AC inside the car. As far as the Zero goes, it's actually been driving great. It still needs to go in for a retune. As you can see, we have a little bit of oil leakage up in the engine bay. I think it's the front cover. I need to get underneath it and just verify, but I don't think the front timing cover on the engine sealed up properly, and I think there's a little bit of a leak on that cover. So I need to pull off the accessories, pull off the belt, pull off the pulley, pull off the front cover and the valve cover, reseal that, and put it all back together. Again, another project that I thought I'd have time for, and I still might, but I want to get that done, get the car retuned, and with the MK are new fenders to replace these cracked ones. So those will get replaced. And then the ultimate goal is I want to sell this car. I've mentioned that before, but I want to make sure that this is a rock solid car, so whoever I sell it to can enjoy it without worrying and without experiencing any of the hardships or issues that I've had to go through. Speaking of, I think the fuel filter debacle is resolved. I think the fuel tank is clean now. I've put probably 300 or 400 miles on it now since the engine went back in and everything got back together, and I haven't had the same fuel starvation issues due to a clogged fuel filter. So knock on wood, I think I'm going to call that fixed for now. So a little bit of a catch up, a little bit of a cleanup today. Not too much work. I just got through with some travel, and I have some more coming up on the calendar, either right before or right after the MK kit arrives, and then it's basically hunkered down until after Christmas. Things might be a little sparse. I've got 10 days coming up in Australia, and I plan on visiting a few friends and a few builders you may have seen on YouTube there, and otherwise kicking my feet up and enjoying Bondi Beach to its fullest. Thank you guys for watching and hanging in there, and I'll see you next time.